Okay, I think we are kind of live. The quality here is crap at the moment because I can't use my good setup on StreamYard because with that setup I can't see the computer screen. Uh, and I would like to know if anybody does happen to drop in and catch this. It's coming on live. It's not exactly breaking news because the information was out there 6 or 7 days ago, but no one seems to have picked up on it except I found one story 6 days ago based on some information by Ross Dellinger. And, well, maybe a mystery has been solved. As we have discussed, West Virginia currently has 88 scholarships committed. And we wondered how they would get down to the 85 scholarship limit. Well, turns out that the settlement for the House and NCAA lawsuit to keep it from going to court includes the possibility of raising or entirely eliminating scholarship limits. That settlement is either now approved. I think it is approved. It was on the edge of approval. And maybe mystery solved. Exactly how that's going to affect teams, we'll have to see. Evidently, it also includes the possibility of altering, lowering the total roster cap. So it may be that a team has 90 scholarships but can only have 100 players, or maybe 100 scholarships and only 100 players. Everybody's on scholarship. Just how it's going to break down isn't going to be clear for quite a while, I guess. But it appears that Ren Baker and Neil Brown are counting on an increase or elimination of the scholarship cap and went after players they needed. Does this mean that they are still going to add another couple of players? Don't know. That's also a question of budget and how many players you can handle in practice at one time. I don't think they will rush just to grab players because they still want to maintain the same standards. The quality necessary, fit, and why is it budget? Hey, Timothy, welcome in. Will this really affect West Virginia long term? Maybe not that much. Tony Caridi was on a YouTube show here just a few moments ago, West Virginia college football, and what he brought up was simply the fact that the separation between the bluest of the blue bloods, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, maybe Georgia, teams of that caliber who have always had massive, almost unlimited budgets. West Virginia is not going to be in that category. Now, the whole Big Ten SEC money grab, it does increase the gap between West Virginia and some of the mid-level programs in those conferences just because those mid-level programs suddenly have a lot more money to play with than West Virginia does, just from the conference payouts. But West Virginia will be competing with the same level of teams they have always competed with, which includes Pitt. I think Penn State's actually still in that category. Yes, they will be getting more money from the Big Ten, but beating Penn State is within reach. I think it will remain within reasonable reach. They will remain the favorite most of the time, but if West Virginia coaches well, plays well, can beat Penn State. Ohio State, many years for that matter. But Pitt, Virginia Tech, Maryland, Oklahoma State, everybody in the Big 12, those are the levels of teams that we have competed with, will continue to compete with. And they're in the same boat we are. Most of those schools do not have, a mega number of mega donors. Most of them have one or two mega donors, which is pretty much where West Virginia is. And then it's a matter of doing what else you can. Thank you, Timothy. Yes, I do appreciate that. Hey, let me bring that up. Yeah, I'll put that on the screen in a hurry. But the shape of college football, or maybe not the shape, the flavor of college football, has significantly, radically changed in the last 2 or 3 years, and it's changing again. This settlement may have been necessary to keep the courts from doing something more extreme if it went in front of a judge. But something that Drumwolf, this broadcast does not look better. This is crap. The lighting is crap. My image is crap. The background is crap, but it is blurred crap, so you can't really determine just what each individual piece of trash back there is. Anyway, let me, since I'm in, I'll bring that up. But what Neil Brown has proven, and I think, well, in some respects, what Ren Baker has proven with coaching hires as well, but what Neil Brown has proven, and especially last year and into this year, is that there are high-quality players out there who play for the love of football first, who have loyalty, who want to play at a place that feels right to them. And they will stay at a place like West Virginia because they like it, because they like the coaches, because they like the players, as well as, hopefully, the town. They still want NIL money because, dang it, they should get some if everybody else is. But they won't necessarily insist on more and more and more. And we don't have a lot of players who are now leaving just for more money. Garrett Green, probably Nico Marchiol, Frazier. We've had a lot of guys who could have gone elsewhere and made more, but who decided to stay. That is critical. And problem, I think, is that we don't have enough coaches who put the emphasis on culture and chemistry, on loyalty, on honesty, on ethics that we need to really maintain. But we never have. I mean, that's not something that has changed. That's not something that's going to change because of this. We've never had enough coaches who are like the coaches I grew up reading about, like in the Claire B. Chip Hilton series of books. If you want to have some fun, they're old, they're written for teenagers, but go find yourself a Claire B. book or two. And yes, we are a development school. We have always been a development school. We're good at it. I mentioned that I just uploaded a video a few hours ago discussing signing Gavin Crawford. And, especially offensive linemen, we have been known, going back at least to Nealon's days, for finding, raw players and developing them beyond the level that other coaches thought they could reach. Now we're getting some guys who aren't so raw, and we'll be developing them. And players appreciate that. They don't necessarily want to go to a school where they're expected to play immediately or be ready immediately. They want coaches who will spend time teaching them. Not just telling them, but teaching them. It's a big, big, big difference. We'll take things from there. But I'm glad that the issues, the questions around will the settlement be settled are evidently resolved. Now we get to see how that plays out in application. It's not going to stop all of the changes. We're going to have a lot more going on. More things probably need to change. And since the money is out there, it is going to cause greed in certain players. And we'll work from that. Let's see. There was D2 isn't so much affected by it because the money's not there. The settlement really only applies to schools that make a profit in, some of the sports. I'm not sure how many group of 5 schools really end up making a profit in football. And not that many schools make a profit in men's basketball. You get past that, and there aren't many profitable athletic programs at any school. And of course, D2 scholarships were already more of an issue because budgets are more of an issue. So I don't really think it will affect D2. A group of 5 may get hurt disproportionately. Now, a lot of that, the question is going to be how the settlement is settled. Because they've agreed to things like amounts of money, but distribution of responsibility is going to be a problem. And you can be sure that the Big Ten and SEC are going to try to pay as little of their share as possible. Personally, I think we probably should look at an arrangement where how much of this you have to pay is based on school and conference income, and things like the playoff arrangement that the Big Ten and SEC forced teams to agree to, where those two conferences get a larger percentage of the money. Fine. Let them pay a larger percentage of the cost. They did a whole lot to help bring this on, so I really think they should pay by far the lion's share of all of this. But I'm sure they're not of that opinion. I'm hoping, Big 12, ACC, and such will stand firmer on this issue than they did on the playoff issue. I think they have a better case. But the settlement of the settlement could end up going to court or something like that. It's just crazy. Money makes people crazy, either because they have it, or because they want it, or because they don't have it. Anyway, was that today's episode or one that was showing earlier? I did not know Baker was on Three Guys recently. So I don't know. I hope not. That probably would be a little bit of a problem, a little too much in 4 months. But 10 pounds a month maybe is not bad. But I don't know if anybody, if anybody saw it or not. We got 6 people watching, so we don't exactly have a high number of possibilities. Meanwhile, does anybody, while we are here, have any questions about the football team? I pretty much said the main thing I wanted to say, wanted to get it out there as quickly as possible. I'm surprised that, this had not shown up, the board, the 24/7 board, nope, not even a whisper of this possibility there that I saw, and I checked again before I came on. And I say there was a story 6 days ago that mentioned the possibility, and the story they were working from was earlier than that. So I would have thought this would have been out and about a week ago. We'll see. Okay, we don't. Nope. There's some more comments that we're hiding. Okay, tight ends going to be a lot better, and that's across the board. Tight ends are going to be better. Cole Taylor knows that he has to improve his blocking, and I think Fabianich, but basically has to tighten his route running, make those slight improvements, and get Green better on those short intermediate throws. And, come on, that's tight end territory right there. Davis looked a lot more mobile in the spring game. Caught passes and ran. Neither of those were, last year. Of course, Green missed him a number of times. He dropped some passes, and running was not his strong suit. Jen Ross, I think that's the right name. Don't know exactly what we've got there, but I think he's a bit better blocker than Taylor and a better receiver than Davis. So it gives us a guy who's a bit of both worlds more than those two are. That opens up a lot more flexibility. Then we see how Dixon grows. But I think between improved tight end play and improved touch from Green, we're going to see a lot more work with the tight ends. And no, short answer, no, not at all. Yes, I think they will be a contender. They play hard. I enjoyed watching them play. The times that I dropped into a game last year, it wasn't that often, but I think they have a decent shot to make the conference championship, but if they do, West Virginia will be there to beat them. I kind of like to see them make it to the conference championship because I expect West Virginia to be there, and I'd like to play Utah this season. I don't think do we play them in the regular season? I don't think so. I think they're one that we miss. But I would like to play them and beat them in the conference championship. But it is the thing, it is an open conference. If you tried to name 6 teams who have a decent chance of getting to the championship game, you'd have to add 2 or 3 more just to cover yourself. And teams that people are guessing are going to be near the bottom. No sure thing on that end of the scale either. Every team in this conference is beatable. That includes West Virginia. And by the way, my new description for the West Virginia team is the ear raid. And if you don't catch it, that is a play on the air raid offense. But I think it's going to be more than passing. It's going to be more than offense. I think the offense and defense are going to hit teams like, I can't come up off the top of my head with the right description, but teams are going to feel like they got blitzed. So we'll see if I'm right. We'll see if it catches on. I like it. Yeah, well, hey, I do the best I can. Our defense is going to be better, period. The defensive line, actually, I think the defensive line will also be better. Sean Martin should be healthy. Vesta Renan in spring was supposedly better. I think Mulba will be an upgrade over. I should have had some significant caffeine before coming on here. Jackson, he's got more experience than Durajaye that we lost, so I think he will be more consistent than Durajaye was. And we'll get a lot more pressure. Well, of course, last year, in the beginning, pressure from Koba and Lathan was tremendous. I think we'll get better pressure. I think, Lathan will have a little more experience. Whether it's Trotter or Carrico who replaces Koba, I think they'll be better because I think they will be better at picking and hitting the right gap. Koba was fun to watch if you did not grade him, but he did not play proper gaps. It was just a crapshoot. And I think the better linebacker play will clog up the run lanes and the passing lanes. So even if the rest of the defense stayed the same, the linebacker play this year would make the results better. And I really don't think quarterbacks are going to have a whole lot of time. I mean, yeah, with linebackers, we don't have guys with tons of experience, but man, look at who we have. Lathan, the first half of last year, was flat out fantastic, but he wasn't considered in spring to be as good as Trotter. Cutter wasn't supposed to play because, he was a good freshman, but not a ready freshman, closer to Trotter needing a year. Well, he got a year with a whole lot of on-field experience. He's not going to make the mistakes he made last year. He is not a guy who will accept that. And then Carrico, okay, we haven't seen Carrico. He didn't get on the field at Ohio State. But first, I trust Coach Brown, and I trust Drew Fabianich. So I believe Carrico has the stuff. So that's 4 high-quality linebackers. And we only use 2 at a time. So we've got a 2 deep, and any of the 4 probably is good enough to start. When was the last time we really had a 2 deep at linebacker where any of them was close to equal? We had some good linebacking cores in the past, but I don't think we've matched what we've got coming up this year. Of course, I'm terrified of injuries. Definitely terrified. Yeah, and that's the we actually had a fair number of sacks last year compared to the rest of the conference, but we didn't have nearly as many as we should have or could have. I think this year we'll see more consistent pressure from more directions. I think I've been expecting them to play man for the last 2 years, but injuries prevented that. I think we have the depth this year that the injuries won't be as big a factor if they happen. So I think we'll have a lot more man, so we'll be bringing 5 and 6 more often, which we couldn't do much last year. And when we did it against Oklahoma State and guys picked the wrong gap, we gave up at least 14 and maybe 21 points in a very short time just by bringing extra pressure and not having the experience to do it. And of course, pressure tends to cause interceptions. I think most of the corners play the ball in the air very well. I particularly noticed that. Oh, crimey, I can't remember the last corner we signed. But watching him, I commented that he played the ball in the air like Beanie Bishop. Haven't watched a lot of film on the other guys, but I think a lot of them are fond of the ball. They want the ball, and that plus playing angles is how you get interceptions. I think Ruffin actually was a little too nervous last year, knowing that he was, he couldn't afford to get injured. He's maybe a little afraid of mistakes. And, so he was not going after the ball like he had in previous years, or we would have had a few more interceptions last year. But I do expect to see a lot more pressure, which will result in a lot more not just interceptions, but fumbles as well. I loved it before the beginning of last season, one of the defensive coaches was talking about the importance of length and how, having that longer wingspan and an inch or two being the difference. And within the first one or two games, we had, might have been Sean Martin going past the quarterback and reaching out, getting a fingertip on the ball and knocking it loose. So seems like our coaches know the game fairly well. Depth. This year's depth will be better than it has been since 2008, maybe. Actually longer than that, because depth was not all that good at the end of Rodriguez's time. He left behind a really good first team on offense primarily, but nobody behind them with any experience. It was, that next year was going to be scary, if no matter who was coaching. I think Stewart did a lot more than most would have. Thank you, Timothy. I appreciate that. I think we've got 6 people, but only 2 question askers who seem to have kind of come to their bottom of their barrel of monkeys. And it is getting almost time for me to medicate cats around here, so I think I'm going to go ahead and end this. I appreciate everybody dropping by. As usual, please click share, subscribe, make comments when you're watching it on YouTube, and click the thumbs up. We'll pretend that there is no thumbs down button. Okay, guys. Thanks for dropping in. Maybe take a nap now until the season starts. But I'll talk to you sometime, even if I'm talking in my sleep, which I have been known to do. So long.